Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of Spigs18 or Anthony. We have AD or Alpha Dean or simply Dean. And Dean, what are we doing here today?
Well, today we get to sit back and chat with one of our resident Cypher heads from over at Cypher Unlimited, none other than our friend GM Sprinkles, an inspiring young guy, creator on YouTube. He's a writer. Said he's fairly new to the channel and tabletop, but he's been firing up the airwaves a little bit. You know, people out there have been liking what he's talking about. So we figured we'd sit down today and have a discussion with him. You know, and so Anthony, without further ado.
Hey, Ben, welcome to the CU. We're happy to have you here. It's awesome. Ben Clarke, or AKA GM Sprinkles. So, tell us a little bit, for our viewers, our viewers know a little bit about yourself, and maybe can you touch on your experience with role-playing games and how the hell you get the name GM Sprinkles?
Sure, of course, yeah. So so we'll start with the best question is how I got my name. So my partner, we met playing D&D 5th edition, and she came up with the nickname Sprinkles for me. So that was her nickname for me before we started dating. And the reason this is she liked to tease me because I'm diabetic, and she thought that sprinkles something sweet and made a silly joke, and it just kind of stuck. And I thought, I'm a GM, so why not? But yeah, that's how the nickname come about, and I've kind of just rolled with it, and it's worked quite well, and I quite like the whole aesthetic that goes with. But yeah, I'm pretty new. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for 5th edition for 5 years, and at the start of this year, 2020, I picked up Cypher System and fell in love with it. And I'm just like, wow, I need to look at other systems because D&D is not the best necessarily. It's not the best for me, so I need to find out what is out there. And it's going to be hard to beat Cypher System. And yeah, so that's my experience.
Oh, that's awesome that you started with 5th edition. Were you ever intrigued with role-playing games before 5th edition, or was 5th edition how you found out about role-playing games in general?
Well, it was how I found out. One of my mates from high school, literally, he got, for Christmas one year, he got one of the Dungeons & Dragons books, and he said, we should play this, but none of us knew how to play, so we went down to our local store. They had, like, the Adventurers League, and I was a bit hesitant at first. It just seemed like, which sounds so crazy now, but it seemed a bit too nerdy for me. But I fell in love with it, and I just like, this is great, and I love the role playing of it, and that's just how I got into it. But then I eventually decided that Adventures League was not really for me, and I had to do my own thing.
Most
Yeah, that
definitely.
makes total sense.
As someone who also started in, I didn't start with 5th edition. I started with 3.5 with Anthony as my GM, but we quickly moved on to 5th edition. We never touched 4th, apparently. I don't know if like 5th edition just came out shortly after, or like
we basically jumped over 4th and went straight to 5th.
But again, I enjoyed it. It was fun again because Anthony was is a pretty good GM. But I wasn't like fully grabbed by like the role playing game genre like in general until we until he introduced me to Cypher System. After Cypher System, I fell in love with I'm reading different systems now and stuff because prior to that I guess a bubble is the best way to say it. It's like the RPG bubble is always D&D. Like if you mention role-playing games to like almost anyone, they're gonna be like, "Oh, so you play D&D?" I guess that was very stifling. But it's awesome that you're now here with us in the Cypher boat. Is basically what I was trying to get to.
It's good to be here.
It's quite an awesome system, and you've been making some videos about. I know your last video, or I don't know if it was your most latest video, but you definitely have made a video talking about Cypher System, why you think it's one of the best out there. But can you tell our viewers a little more about your channel in general, and why did you decide to create a channel in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just love tech, so I wanted to explore more, and I realized that not enough people know about the Cypher System, or at least in my spheres, and more people need to know about how bloody awesome it is. And so that's exactly where it started, and I needed to make a channel. I didn't want to go straight into Cypher System. I wanted to try and grab some talking about D&D, and my first video I was hugely had issues with audio. I've never done this before, so I did it about why I left D&D and why I moved to Cypher, and I slowly built up the audience. And that was the idea behind it. But yeah, I just really want more people to know there are other systems out there, and Cypher may not be for them, and D&D may not be either, or it might be, but people need to know there are other systems, and it's not necessarily the best for them. So that's why I made the channel.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of like the biggest problem with fandom to begin with. Someone like, you know, either they'll grasp a system at first and then that's my system. You know, it's like the you know, video game. Like, I'm a PlayStation guy. I'll never touch an Xbox.
Yeah.
And it should you know, it should never be like that. You know, everybody should be polygamerish. You should be able to play every system, and you get a better understanding of what you actually do like the more games you do try.
You know,
But yeah, 100%.
I mean, take it from a guy who's been doing this for like 40 years. I've played so many games, tons of them. And I'll be honest with you, yes, I found Cypher System. It's my sweet spot. It's my go-to baby. You know, I'm having this wonderful love affair since, you know, 2013 with it. And, you know, every now and then I'll go out, you know, I had to realize, you know, I was faithful probably like the last 5 years. And then, you know, I just realized, you know what, now it's time, you know, okay, honey, I got to go out. You know, I got to go out and check something out. But what it does, though, by doing that as well, is gives you an appreciation for the Cypher system. You know, it rekindles that appreciation all over again. You know, I'm looking at a couple of things that are, you know, coming up, a couple of Kickstarters that I've backed and books have come in. And it's like, okay, yep, I'm going to run a couple of games, but then I got to get back to Cypher. You know, because, you know,
I think it works the other way around too. You know, like, it's been a while since I played 5e, but I think if I sat down and played a game of 5e, I would actually enjoy it more because I took a 2-year break from 5e. You know, so, you know, I would actually enjoy the game more if you know, when I go back to it.
The only thing I can say about that is it's going to truly depend on the GM, because I learned the hard way. I played, well, you know, the last few months I was playing in a 5e campaign, and it was brutal. It was just pain, you know, and it wasn't because it was 5e. It was just the guy's style. You know, I'm spoiled. I'm used to that cinematic action. I'm used to the GM, you know, adjusting and you know, it expands and contracts right along with you. There's never missing a beat. So, you know, like I said, but I'm, you know, but now I'm also running something else. I'm using another system. I'm using an old percentage system. And it's like, great, this is kind of fun, you know, different. And I have myself, you know, find yourself tendency going like, you know, let me give a GM. Oh, wait a minute, there's no GM intrusions. You know,
you're talking about Hearts of Wulin.
Yeah, no, not Hearts of. It's the Art of Wuxia.
Oh, the Art of Wuxia. Yeah, I want to try that out.
Yeah, we'll get you in. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, since we're talking about it, I mean, you've got a few episodes under your belt. You know, as we like to say, in the can over here. Tell us about your experience in creating your YouTube channel. You know, and what you've learned in the process.
Oh, I've learned so much, and like I mean, not just in doing YouTube videos, but I've also learned so much in just the TTRPG community. Like, the community is amazing, especially on Twitter. I've got so much love on Twitter, and that's been great. But also using social media, I never have used Twitter before or Discord, mind you. I know it's embarrassing, but I've never used Discord, Twitter, or Instagram before I started this channel, and it was a pretty steep learning curve. Like, I'm like, what is retweet? What is all this? And like, I just feel like an old man trying to learn technology. It's crazy. And even Discord, like, I joined the Cypher Discord. I don't know, I've been a part of it for ages, but like, I never looked in it because I'm like, I don't understand how Discord works. And it's just been something, trying to learn that, but also like how to balance audio, how to edit a video. It's all been huge things as well. One of the things I did get from Twitter was someone did say that because they have trouble, they said they have ADHD and they really struggle to focus for a long period of time, and putting something like music or cutaways of like some pictures really helps them. And I thought that was a really good advice, and I've totally taken that on board. So it was really cool to learn that sort of stuff as well.
Nice.
We could definitely relate because we knew nothing. Like,
Mm.
I mean, we knew Discord because we used to run games on a different Discord server, but we didn't know Twitter, we didn't know Twitch. I mean, we
Just look at
still,
some of our early YouTube videos.
yeah, yeah, we still mess up a lot of our videos, but I think that's part of the, like there's two ways of looking at it. It's like, are you trying to make content that you plan to make money on, or are you having fun making the content? And I think we're in the stage of having fun making our content. We just happen to get some pretty good interviews, so it's like,
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I agree with that. I just recently had an interview with a GM from a podcast. He does Pathfinder Second Edition, and we had a long chat about that, and we did that over Zoom as well. And I just used the recording software from Zoom. And if I was to do that again, I wouldn't do that because my internet isn't like the best, and I had a few distortions. So I figured that if I was to do it again, I'd set up a second camera filming me, and then use the footage from Zoom for him when he's talking, but use my own, I think. And it's just stuff like that. And it's honestly, it's going to be a lot of weird audio, screeches and stuff that I'm not going to really edit out because I'm not really sure how to. But I think that's a part of the experience, and people want to see that growth. And I think that's really something fun about doing these things. Yeah, and putting yourself out there is that growth.
that's
I
the
also, go ahead,
no.
Al.
I was gonna say that's definitely something like I've seen with our channel. Like I forget who I was showing. I think someone named Jason C from the CU. Like he's someone who's playing in my upcoming Predation one shot. And we were just talking about Cypher System. I told him like, oh, one of my favorite games was this like game where they broke the fourth wall at the end, and I had it recorded, so it was amazing. So I was like, yes, I can show it to him. But then when I pulled up the video, I was like, oh my god, like you can tell this is from 3 years ago. Like my audio is horrible, the overlay is like not right. Like I was just like embarrassing for myself. But it's nice looking back then and then seeing like now and then the future, like watching that progress is kind of amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It really is.
And it's great when you hear positive feedback, but you also have to develop some sort of thick skin because realistically everything's not going to be positive. And I think when we first started doing our videos, they were a little shaky, and people weren't hesitant. I mean, were quick to tell us the faults of the video, and
Yeah.
it took me a little while getting used to that. Going, okay, yeah, you're right, but it's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself up about it. We'll get it. We'll get them next time.
Basically.
Yeah, well, I haven't actually experienced any negative feedback regarding any of the filming or anything. I have about my opinions. I've got a lot of negatives, mainly on Facebook actually, which is interesting. But I got a lot because I'm a part of this group where we backed a giant map book for tabletop RPG. It's a really cool product, and everyone a part of it got into a Facebook group, and I'm a part of that now. And everyone posts what they're working on. And I posted my video, and then my first video, which is why I left D&D, and I got a lot of feedback. People are like, "Oh, you're just like a fanboy, or you're just whining about this." And I'm like, "Look, these are my opinions. Like, I'm not saying this is the way it is. It's just these are my opinions, and you don't have to agree with them." I don't know why people get up in arms about that stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was weird, but it was like I've got a thick skin.
It can speak to you on that. There's the D&D community is special, and I can say that. And I don't care if they don't like it. I've played every edition of D&D, and people become very defensive and that's their baby. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And and I even find myself sometimes I get like that with Cypher System.
Oh, same.
I have to catch myself because I really be wanting to go ham on people. But the one thing about our channel and what we promote is non-conflict. We don't want to be confrontational. We don't want to have addition wars. We don't want to have flame wars. So, what it's done for me is, maybe become a whole lot more diplomatic. I've learned to say things, in a much more conversational manner, even though, you've got my ire up about it, but it's so cool that you even brought that up. But I can tell you, man, I've dealt with so much stuff from the D&D community. Like I said, I was playtester on
Oh, wow.
edition. I was just looking at that stuff yesterday, all the playtest stuff, and it's crazy to see where it is 5th edition and where it came from. People wouldn't even know that some of the things you might be complaining about were actually pieces that were in the game that they took out. So
Yeah.
I mean, haters are gonna hate. That's how I view it. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
some people just like to complain for the sake of complaining, and it doesn't affect. It used to affect me, but it doesn't affect me now. I'm like, hey,
Exactly.
whatever. You know, I'm not gonna lose any sleep, and I'm sure you're not
Yeah.
gonna lose any sleep by what my video entails. So why bother?
I actually enjoy it now though. Like as long as it's like a debate, not like you're just arguing and hating on people. But if people try and debate me on it, and like I had a case in my YouTube section, and I like sent him a message to have a conversation about him because he was trying to tell me that combat in Cypher is boring, and I was like, look, that's your opinion, but this is why I disagree with that. And I think it was really fun because I didn't change his mind, but he walked away with a different perspective, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a good debate because I think Cypher is more GM dependent when it comes to combat to make it interesting. So maybe he had a bad GM.
Yeah,
Or,
I think that's the thing. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I won't even say it was a bad GM. I think it's sometimes just not understanding. People equate sometimes, like from my experience, they equate dynamic combat to how many dice they get to roll, how much damage they get to do, and they're looking at it. Well, I only do 2, 4, or 6 points of damage, or maybe I do, this or that, and then see. I think the talent it comes in when you realize that this is cinematic. So the damage is really doesn't mean anything. It's esoteric. It's what the description. That's the one thing we like to do at the table is like, well, you especially when a player rolls a natural 20. Well, tell me what that attack looked like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the person gives you this great description of their attack. I spin with my sword and I slash him across his midsection. And then you as a GM, you need to elaborate. You know what? Okay, well, you eviscerate this guy. His intestines spill over the bottom of his stomach as he staggers back and falls into, that kind of thing. That I think that's where the beauty of it comes in, where we miss it.
100%.
Whereas, when you talk about D&D or something like that, well, I have my great sword and I take a two-handed swing and I do 12 points of damage. Now that's boring too if nobody's giving you any.
Exactly. I think which may sound strange, but I think actually the GM in a way has more work with Cypher System where D&D kind of it covers the bases of that, where a lot of the effort of describing the situation to make Cypher combat really nice, this is just my opinion anyway, is that the GM has to do that extra describing because it is a cinematic experience, not just that mechanical thing of Dungeons and Dragons. That's my opinion though. If that
Anthony,
makes
you're
sense.
muted.
I think you could also argue the other way around. There's a lot of Cypher people that accuse Pathfinder and D&D to not handle social situations well, but that's also dependent on the GM.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like the way I look at it, because one of my players who I brought along from 5th edition brought him over to Cypher. They really liked it, and I handed them the Cypher book, and they've ran me a game a couple of times now. And they had a bit of trouble with like stats, started trying to make stat blocks. I'm like, don't even worry about stat blocks. Just use the formula of like what level it is, how much damage it does, and just describe the rest. Like I think that's what the issue is people come to Cypher System and look at, okay, but what can this person do? And I'm like, whatever, like you don't need to worry about what they can do. Like sometimes I have a wizard and go, all right, I want to use a spell. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's going to use a spell and it's going to entangle roots. It's going to like grasp around their feet and hold them down. And with the Cypher System, the great thing about it is you don't need to like calculate what the DC should be or what the spell's called. You just go, okay, it's level 5 creature, so it's going to have a 15 target roll, and that's how it's going to break out of that. Or if it's damaging, it's going to do like 5 or 6 damage. And I think that's just fantastic. And you just describe that as long as you are doing that descriptive cinematic sort of experience. I think it's awesome.
And even what you said with the spells, Dean is really good at this. Is like Dean, when he'll announce a spell, he won't say, hey, I'm doing a spell. He'll describe what's happening and then be like, okay, this is the spell. But, he didn't start it off saying, hey, I'm going to do enthrall. He says, my hands start swirling and then, I'll start talking and then a mist comes from my mouth and then the person's eyes like, whiten. I cast enthrall. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that will be unique to Dean's character. Now, you might cast him Thrall an entirely different way. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
Yeah,
that
yeah, and
Yeah.
I've got my players doing something similar. So obviously, Onslaught is a very popular ability with the adepts that I see
Yeah.
personally, and I've got one player who is like a kind of like a kitsune sort of thing, and when they do Onslaught, it's literally just a frigid like a cold beam that hits them, and another person who their focus is Howls at the Moon. When he uses Onslaught, they're like little like wolves, like jump out and run along the ground and like bite, and I just think that's fantastic. Like they've got that own description, and that's unique to them, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely. So,
that
okay, Dean, you was gonna say
no, I was
something?
just saying that's what makes Cypher so cool, because everybody can you could have a table full of adepts. Everybody could have that onslaught ability, but everyone's is different. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but the resolution mechanic is simple enough that boom, it happens. But you get to put your own twist, your own flavor.
Mm.
Um, Ben, it's been very obvious from listening to your show. You enjoy to try different types of RPGs. Do you have a preferred system? I'm guessing. I think I know what it is. Why do you think you enjoy that system?
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's definitely. I'm gonna admit here. I have a bias, and I do love the cyber system and everything. Anytime someone's going to talk to me, I'm going to relate it back to the cyber system. And I think the thing I love about the cyber system, it is that perfect middle ground of really simple but good mechanics, where and there's just so much flexibility with that. Like you can do anything. Like I've writing so many different campaigns right now. I'm doing one that's set in like a very no non-magic setting, where there's no magic around, and it's set in like a very ancient Greece, like myth, and I don't have to change anything about the system. Like there's nothing I have to like retrospectively change in the rules or anything. It just slots in there really nicely, and that's exactly why I moved to the system. Is when I went to go write my second campaign, sorry, I was like, okay, this is going to be really hard to fit into D&D. I'm going to have to change how magic works. I'm going to have to change this, and then I looked at Cypher once again. I was like, I don't have to change anything. It just slots in there, and I just have to flavor it to make it sound that. And that's why I love Cypher. It can do anything. I haven't found anything that it can't do.
Yep.
That is an
Yeah,
excellent way to
that's a
put
great
it. Yeah,
answer.
like whenever I go to tell someone about Cypher System, like it's always like, hey, like you ever heard of tabletop role playing games? And I always say, hey, you know D&D, right? It's always that fantasy stuff, right? But with Cypher System, you can do Power Rangers, you can do 1980s street gangs, you can do like I list off these like things that people know, and they're like, oh shit, like I can be a gangster in the 70s and like. And like we'll play it out like yeah, you can be anything you want, like we can do literally
Yeah.
anything. It's such a nice feeling.
Yeah, it really is. And like my girlfriend is running a space horror campaign. So it's just set in space, and we just go to planets and we find these terrifying creatures, and it's awesome. Like we didn't have to change anything. Like in D&D, like how would you do space travel? I mean, I think there's Spelljammer or something in previous editions, but like there's no effort there. And she could just like go, okay, I don't have to change anything. We just have to change what the flavor text is in the cipher book maybe, but that's it. And that's so easy.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I even tell people this. You'll hear it 1,000 times every time you talk to me. My favorite line is the paradigm shift, and that's literally what it
Yeah.
has to be. It has to be. It's because I even have that problem. When I first got my hands on Numenera back in 2013, I was like, this is cool. There's something cool about this. I mean, I'm digging the setting, but just the mechanics, just the wobble on the mechanics, and realizing that, wait a minute, I'm not bound. And that's what has to happen. You have to remember that as a GM, you're not bound. You're not bound by the rules. The rules are for the
Hmm.
players, you know, and that's kind of where it takes you to. So,
And the GM intrusion mechanic, which I'm sorry, I have to say this, but it's just so gorgeously, amazingly thought out. Like it's perfect because rewards the players however you want to reward them. So you don't have necessarily, if you don't want a game where players are going to be awarded for killing monsters, then you don't have to. And the GM intrusion, you can just intrude on the story and be like, look, this would be really funny if this thing just happened. And I've used it so many times. And I was listening to one of your shows, and you were talking about whether you have them pre-prepared or not, Dean. And I agree with you. I don't. My best geometries I've ever done is ones I haven't prepared, And I think that's amazing mechanic as well. And I think that's where the Cypher system really shines around that whole XP system, in my opinion, as well.
Absolutely.
Actually, now that you're giving us a little bit of advice, kind of leads pretty nicely into our next question. So a lot of your early videos, they're more focused on like giving advice to players and GMs, like creating interesting characters, how to write up your campaign, that sort of thing. Do you think you'll be creating more of those videos, or will you be making more content like, focusing on the mechanics or whatever of Cypher System?
Well, I actually am working on one at the moment where I'm going to do another Cypher system because I can't believe this, but my Cypher system video was my most popular video. It's outperformed everything. So I look, I'm just going to listen to the people, and I love talking about Cypher. So I'm going to do another one on character creation where I can delve real deep. And I've actually, which you'll probably see in my next video, is that I'm going to call out to people and ask them to send in a zany character, whether it's from a novel or whatever they want, and I'm going to try and make it fit to Cypher to prove how flexible it is. And so yeah, I will be doing more advice, but I'll also be doing a bit more generic advice. I do have a video plan, which is going to be, it's going to take me a long time to plan it out because I want to do one on world building because I love building worlds. It's like my favorite thing to do, and so I do want to do that as well and share that experience.
Nice.
Oh,
So,
that's
you
awesome.
know, since we're already talking about Cypher System, let's jump a little bit more into it. You created a few videos about Cypher. You're talking about the aspects of the system and so on and so forth. But, I mean, you've touched on the GM intrusion, but what else do you really enjoy? There's something, and is there anything you wish that was designed maybe a little differently?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So one thing I do really like about the system is that everything just feels really balanced there. Like I really like the rest mechanics. Like I think that's really good. I had a player the other day, they had a big in combat encounter and they lost so many points to their like pools that the next day they're like, I'm not going adventuring, I'm resting for the whole day. And I think that's really fun because in lots of other systems you can get all your hit points back. So that's something I really like. Um, but something that is a very minor thing I mean, I can get around it quite easily, is that there's no real unconscious state in Cypher. I mean, Debilitate is basically unconscious, but it's not quite. And it's just me trying to get that paradigm shift, I suppose, getting around that. But that's the only real thing I can think of that could be improved is just like having a little bit more of those conditions. But that's maybe just my D&D mindset as well.
I mean, I definitely have. I don't know how many of our videos you've seen, but I've talked quite a bit about my Darkest Dungeon like adaptation for Cypher System, and I definitely do get that like wanting to have like statuses like be part of like the game because Darkest Dungeon has like poison, bleed, blight, like has all these different kinds of status effects, and it's not really fully covered in like I mean it's touched on like with ambient damage and other things, but like it's I can see why you want to try to like include it, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And see, I look at those things like just an opportunity to flex my creative muscles because there's so many things in Cypher that can mimic that, like you were just talking about, like ambient damage. So you want to add a condition. Okay, well, guess what? Now you got a bleed condition. So until you get some special treatment or whatever, you're going to lose a point of might every round. Or you're going to lose a point of might it's not heal. This isn't healable by a recovery roll. So you just change that to a bleed status or whatever. And I think Cypher System, I think that's again, that's again a benefit I think we're all getting because we're all growing and becoming even that more I guess you'd say flexible when it comes to Cypher and realizing it's completely modular. Just plug it in. Whatever you need, look at what's there and you can plug it in. Those how many pages Anthony, how many pages of rules are there? What, 17, 22 or something?
17, and if you probably count like altogether, if you took all the books in its entirety, if you took Numenera, The Strange, all 6 of the the Worlds of Cypher book, you probably have 45 pages of rules between all of them.
And imagine that 45 pages of rules, but those rules are flexible enough that you can plug them in and unplug them as necessary. That's
amazing. I suppose that's for sure. And I suppose that's just that. I think that's, like I said, it's my mindset that I got to make that shift, like you said, Dean, because like I've got a creature. I can't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for my players because they'll watch this. But there's a creature that I was trying to work out how I can do it that puts them to sleep. It has like a sleep gas. And I was trying to work out for ages. I'm like, well, what's really the difference between being unconscious sleep or just being debilitated? So the way I'm going to do it is if they encounter it, is they're just going to knock them down 2 steps in the damage track and straight away, and that's going to basically put them to unconscious state.
That's a very rough attack, but yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that, but we've had that argument on the server many times when people are like, "Oh, Cypher can't be deadly." I said, "Why can't a creature knock you down on the damage track? Like, is there a law against having a creature knock you down on the damage track?" Right. Of course, I mean, I run a zombie game where I kill 2/3 of the party every time I run it. You know, like, and it can absolutely be dirty. Deadly.
And I have to say dirty too. No, mind you, like you said, he kills 2/3 of the party. And mind you, doesn't do anything crazy special. It's literally 2, 4, sometimes 6 points of damage, depending on the size of the zombie you're fighting. You know, or something stupid happens. You fall. Conditions. Remember, we talking about our conditions. Remember, he had us climbing, and it was slippery, so you were hindered, and you slipped off the banister. You fell. You took 6 points from hitting the ground. Then you got swarmed by zombies. Oh, can't. But it's not deadly. Oh, but it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually really funny you mentioned that, because at the moment in my Monday game that I run for my players is that they've been in this little city the whole time, which is a very safe city. So all they have to deal with is maybe some corrupt guards or maybe some like thugs or something. And they've just left the city now, and they've just started to realize how deadly it is outside the city. The city, and you're right, it can be so deadly. And I don't know whether people don't realize that NPCs and creatures, they can use ciphers. Like if you give them one of those explosive ciphers to throw at the group, that explodes. It's what, some of them like 10 damage. That's a lot of points, no matter what tier you are. 10 points of damage is still a lot, especially if you've been putting effort in pro that day. So it can definitely be deadly, and especially with the resting mechanics. Like I've had players who needed 2 days of full rest before they can get all their points back. And you can interrupt rest. That's what I did the other day. Is I tried to have a 10-hour rest, and there was wolves following them the whole time. And when they tried to rest, it attacked. So they didn't get their rest, and it can be deadly. And for sure, you're right. You need to have that creative mindset though, where D&D, I think they've got that safety net, I suppose.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was, it's exactly what we've been saying with the that creativity. Like, even like the book is a guide. Like people, I mean, this is a generalization, might not be true for everyone, but I feel like people who come from D&D or like D&D is their main game, the book becomes almost a Bible. Like if the book says you can't do it, then you can't do it. Like, but in Cypher System, those people come to Cypher System, they see like, oh, these creatures are only doing 2 damage, 4 damage, like, and they flip around the book, like, these don't look very powerful. But again, this is just a guide. There's, again, like what you're doing, there's no reason an attack can't knock a character down, two things on the track, or just even like outright, like make them unconscious, like they're knocked out, like, and then you come up with a way to, like, figure out mechanically how they wake up from that. But again, you need that creative open mind to look at the book as a guide, not a strict Bible, because you can do so much. Like, it's so deadly if you want it to be.
I mean, I think that's one of the benefits. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that's one of the benefits of the Cypher. Like, all the abilities in the book are very, I don't want to use the word vague, but they're very, like, simple. So there's things in, like, where you're like, would the player necessarily have to make a roll to make this, like, fast talk check or something? And I think that's what the beauty of the system, because that's totally up to the GM to decide, where sometimes they might have one of those, I think, is it fast talk that the speaker gets? It doesn't actually specify having a role to convince someone that who they are or whatever. And sometimes I just go, yeah, you don't need to roll. And sometimes I'm like, no, you have to roll. And that's fine. And I think that just makes story make sense. And on that point of making it deadly as well is, other day, I just GM'd and trued and made the damage do twice as much to a player, because I was like, I'm going to GM and true to make it do twice as much damage. And the player also was like, I don't care, because I got extra XP, and they're happy with that as well. And it's great.
Most definitely.
So,
Oh,
have you played any of the other settings for MCG, or have you only played Cypher Core? You know, like have you touched Numenera, the Strange, Gods of the Fall, Predation?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I come from a background of I just love world building. So I do what I do though is I do buy published adventures, and I do have the Numenera books somewhere around here. Um, and they're just my source of inspiration is more than anything. Like the other day, I was reading about Numenera, and I fell in love with the setting. Probably like when I first moved to Cypher. And then I watched the movie Mortal Engines, and I'm not sure if you guys seen that movie. And I was like, this just feels like a
Yeah.
Numenera setting waiting to happen. Like, and I was like, all right, I need to get the Numenera books now. And I
Yeah.
went out and bought them. But no, I haven't actually. I have read through the Gods of the Fall, and I've read through Numenera Discovery. Yeah, but not Destiny yet. I've got both, but I haven't read through the Destiny one. I do want to get my hands on the Strange as well
I
because I
will
think the
say
Strange is
this.
so much fun. Sorry.
Yeah, I will say this: the Worlds of Cipher books, even if you don't plan to run them, they're excellent resources to mine for one ideas and additional mechanics. You know, like if
Oh
you
yeah.
want to run Gothic horror in your own personal setting, Stay Alive gives you, 20 different additional optional rules that you could plug and play. Same thing with Stars of Fire with Space Adventures. We're all mad here with fairy tales. Like they
Yeah.
all give you plug and play optional rules to
I would
use.
I would say this to you as well, Jim, Ben, because I think we're all hitting on the same thing. The thing about all the books for Cipher System is literally as many books as there are for Numenera, they have not defined the world. The world is
Mm,
not defined. It's completely undefined. If you like world building, this is Cipher System, and that's like my biggest argument with a lot of people is that they don't realize that Cipher System is not going to give you every rule. None of their
mm.
books give you, people were just talking about it on the server today, and I wanted to go in and like start shaking them because they're like, well, I was looking for charts and I needed more, modular ship this and this, and it's like that's not what they're about. They're about
Mm.
giving you seeds to inspire you.
Yeah,
You build this.
yeah, you're right. I've my partner's pre-ordered We're All Mad Here, and I plan on looking at that and the mechanics in that. I'm really excited for when that turns up. I've we've also went hard. Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous.
it's so pretty on the
I
inside.
didn't order. I didn't. I just didn't get my coupon in yet, but I'm waiting for a couple other things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I've got Stars of Fire and I've got Stay Alive, and I will be getting God's Forsaken when that comes out as well because they're just like you said, they are just yes, yes, they're just so inspiring. And like Gods of the Fall, for example, I was reading through that because the premise of the players being gods is so exciting, and I love this idea. And in fact, I'm working on a campaign right now that is going to incorporate all the gods of the falls. But the way I want to do it is the players are going to heroes. They're going to do something that is super godlike, and then because of what's happening in the world, they're going to go into gods, and then we're going to go into gods of the fall. And I just love being able to use everything from all these different books, and that's why I will always buy so many books for those
You
inspirations.
got to get Predation too.
I was waiting to chime in. I was waiting to chime in.
Listen,
You know, the,
I was just gonna say the reality is this, and this is an argument that I've had with so many people. If you can afford it, just get the books. Don't
Yeah,
even don't even treat yourself because all of them have something to offer. Every
mm,
last one of those books brings something to the table. We love predation. Al was like the predation, you know, man over here. That's his stuff.
I'd show it, but
Okay,
it's on my shelf.
you know, um, like I love superheroes. Unmasked, you know, I wasn't completely happy with it, but hey, guess what? It's real good. We had a blast playing in that game. These
yeah.
guys, and you name it, Ben, it's out there for you. So these resources, if you are a world builder, I can honestly tell you, and I'll tell the people out there in the world, if you're into Cypher, every one of their books is world building material. Is literally what it
No, I 100% agree with that. Like it's so like even just the art is inspiring. inspiring. Like this is something I love about Monte Cool Games. Their art is like,
Yeah.
so ethereal. I don't know what it is about it, but I love it. And it just like triggers something inside me to make more stuff. So like, yeah, I agree. And I will be eventually going and getting all those books. Eventually, yeah, when I have the money.
Yeah, and not to sound like a, not being a, like we just talk about trolls on the internet, not being accused of being a SJW, but it's the art is so inclusive, which I absolutely love. You know what I mean? They represent every form, type of person there is on this planet.
I know it's crazy, and it's really good because there's so many other industries that aren't doing that, and then like you just need to move with the times to be popular, and it's really good. I wish more people knew about the Cypher system.
But you definitely gotta get predation, dude. The companion, it's worth it for the companion mechanic alone.
The companion mechanic is awesome.
Quite honestly,
I have heard that, so I will be getting my hands on that eventually as well.
Just before I move on to the next question, just just to piggyback off what y'all were saying about the mechanics from the different books, it's that it's so awesome because again you can plug and play them and you can use them for different things like in Unmasked, you have the kid form and the mass form that can easily be like a Power Rangers game or a Sentai game or something. And then companions, you can do like a monster trainer type game like Pokemon or something if with just a few tweaks. Like it's just so awesome to look at these things and realize you can do so much more with these additional rules. It's just so awesome.
I mean, it's funny you say that because my original premise for my Star Wars game, my droids were going to be the companion mechanic. Everyone was going to have a helper droid. And the someone else at the table was gonna play your individual droid, and it was it was so easy. Oh, that's a cool idea. Just build them out like like companions in Predation.
That's actually really interesting you say that. One of my players is working on a Star Wars game, so I might have to hand him the Predation, tell him to get the Predation book.
If he's using Cypher System, we have a Star Wars one-shot on our YouTube channel. You can direct
Check it out.
there.
Check it out.
Oh, nice. Nice. I will, yeah.
It's called Cleanup in Sector 57.
But
nice.
Now that we've we've talked about all these different books, and there are so many different genres in all these different books. You got fantasy, you got sci-fi, you got horror, you got fairy tale, right? So do you have a favorite genre for your RPGs, or maybe a genre you haven't tried yet that you really want to?
Well, that's the thing is I've always been a fantasy person, and I still am, but I am trying to branch out. And my most recent campaign that I am running on Monday is because of the Cypher system. I did branch out, is because it was going to be classic fantasy, and then I looked at the Cypher system. And part of it was less laziness. I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to cut out any of the focuses. So how can I make these work in my world? So the ones that's like related to hacking or like the what's it called, Fuser's Mind and Machine. I was like, okay, how can I make this work? So what I did is in the high tech cities, they have like robots powered by magic, and I was like, cool, done, move on. And like so now it's weird sci-fi fantasy. And my players just love it because of it's a good mix. So I think I do have to branch out there. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
But fantasy is my go-to. Yeah.
But what about a genre you haven't tried yet but would like to? Like maybe as a not necessarily as a GM, but maybe as a player even.
You know what? I would love to try a romance game. I'm not sure how a GM would run that or anything like that. I haven't really looked into the rules for romance, but I would love to do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Or a superhero one. I did have a player, one of my players is running a superhero one every now and then for me, which is a lot of fun. I could do a superhero. But yeah, I actually also a history. This is a lot that I want to try. I do want to do a history one, especially something like in ancient Greece, because I am a huge classical fan. So
I'm in the same boat as you, Ben. I've never played, and I've been gaming for 30 years. I've never played a romance game. So if we get somebody to run us a romance game, we can play together, because I've never played one. Yeah, and
I'll give it a go.
I'm curious to see. I heard a lot of people talk about it. I'm just curious to see. I've never. Because
I'm putting on my agenda. That's it. Where's my agenda?
I'm usually not a fan of romancing games and RPGs because they tend to go in one or two directions. They tend to go in the inappropriate, someone feels uncomfortable route. Or Okay, ahead.
I was just saying, it's really crazy because I never thought I would do it, but I ran a rom-com. using Cypher
Oh,
System, you know.
nice.
But it was my wife, and then there was another couple we knew. You know, they had never played role playing games, so I was able to play that. We did it on Valentine's Day, and it was pretty. It's pretty damn cool when you do it the right way. But you just got to be like Anthony said. They can spiral out of control, and you just got to make sure you have the right mix of people. And by
Yeah.
having a couples, adults, it was real easy, and it's kind of interesting too because I think people who are like in a relationship and they're those are the people at the table, they know how to feed off of each other, and there's certain things that they can say or you can say with couples that you can't necessarily say with just a bunch of people at the table you don't know.
I'll fix that. Don't worry. I think I can handle that. Maybe.
Well, no, you probably can't. I mean, and I think it can be handled. I just learned some lessons. That's all. Is what I'm saying. So it's out there. And as far as Ben, you were talking about branching out. You can do a whole lot of cool stuff because, like, Gods of the Fall. I actually ran Gods of the Fall as a modern game in the modern world.
Right.
I took inspiration from American Gods. And
yeah, right.
basically had the gods come back, and this, and this time people started realizing, and there was a whole society that was basically the technocracy who basically, instead of them being the dragons and sorcerers, they were the technocracy who did not want people to have that kind of faith again, have that go-to. So it was kind of cool. It's just so many ways to do it, and Cypher gives you the tools.
Yeah, it'd be really easy to do. Actually, it'd be actually really fun because then you could have like the god. If you had like a god of the internet or tech, it would be just like a god of information or knowledge. If you want to go like the classic fantasy knowledge god, yeah, that's actually really awesome. You can really branch out there. Yeah, that's. Damn it! Now I'm gonna have to do another.
That's the beauty of Cypher System and talking about it. You get all these ideas swirling and.
Yeah. I have a document with so many lists. I'm not sure if you guys caught one of my videos. I literally had an 18-minute video just going through all my campaign ideas that I've got. And a lot of people are like, "Wow, I like this." Yeah. It was a lot of fun to make. Yeah, a bit long though.
Have you thought about recording actual plays?
I have. I am very hesitant to do that just purely because there is so many actual plays out there, and there's not a lot of Cypher, mind you. So that's why I'm kind of thinking about it. But yeah, I have thought about that, but I just worry that there's a lot of actual plays and just there's a bit of a what's the word?
Diluted.
Bit of saturation in the market there, because. I don't know, but I get so many people on Twitter say, "Hey, can you check out my podcast of an actual play, or can you check it out?" I'm like, I don't have time to watch, so unfortunately, I would love to. Yeah.
Nice. So, we've talked about all this good stuff, and it looks like we're kind of, because we can probably talk all night long. We'll just have to have.
I reckon, yeah.
We'll have to have a conversation, like on the server or something, because I can give you ideas all night long, man. This is what I do. But what can we look forward to, in the future from GM Sprinkles? What are you going to bring us?
Yeah, for sure. So I did mention that I'm going to do a world building one. So we're going to go in depth there on how to build a world and like talk about building cultures and go into the real nitty gritty stuff. So that's going to be very intense, I suppose, because I'm not sure if some people not everyone goes down to quite that depth. So that's going to definitely do that. There's going to be more Cypher System. I'm going to do character creation. I'm going to make some wild characters there. There is also a possible chance of doing a Cthulhu video because I do play Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, and there will definitely be there. I might get my GM to, I think it's called Lawmaster in Cthulhu, to come on and talk about Cthulhu because I don't know much about that, so I'll probably do an interview there. But there's a few ideas there. Nice.
Cthulhu Alphabet, a very good book. If you want Cthulhu resource, this is a very, very good book.
Right. Okay, yeah, cool. Definitely. You can even do Cthulhu in Cypher, I reckon, as well. Just with the horror rules.
Yep.
The horror rules, trust me, and with Stay Alive, man, you know, shock and madness, it's all there. It's all built in, man. You can have so much fun. Like I said, there's the fun is just beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you doing anything else?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I am working on a campaign, and I'm also got an adventure idea. that is very Numenera, but because I can't write for Numenera with the Cypher content, it will probably be Gods of the Fall. So I do eventually want to get to writing that and putting that up on Drive Through RPG. So that's something I will be working on. I am also working on putting to. I want to write down basically the set for my Monday campaign. So this weird sci-fi like fantasy city that is called Statera. So I do want to do that as well, and maybe some of the other worlds that I'm building, I may try and like throw them out into the world and see what people think as well. So there might be some of that stuff as well.
Oh, that's awesome. If you get to whenever you're ready to start promoting that, be sure to hit us up. We'll definitely have you back on the talk about the cool Drive Through RPG content. That's great.
Yeah, I just have to kind of get my head around how to write an adventure because there's obviously how I will run it may not be how someone else runs it, so I need to make sure I'm appealing to everyone. So
let me just give you a little piece of advice. As a Cypher creator person, use the resources you have at your disposal. So if you have an opportunity to pick up one of the instant adventure books or World's Number or something like that, look at how they structure their adventures. Or even by the what is it, the one by Dominique Dickey, Miracle Over or Miracle 4 or whatever, Heist of Miracle 4.
Yeah,
get those, and that will give you literally the format you need to use, and it makes life easier because if you pay attention to Cypher System adventures, they're never more than 16 pages. Lots of them are like 7 or 8 pages. You don't need a lot of pages to put those together because again, you're not telling them how to run it like you're just giving them a framework to run.
Yeah. I was actually listening to your interview with Dread Unicorn Games, and he was saying like how he wrote his, and he always, for encounters, he always makes one for a stealth encounter, one who's going to be more social, and one that's going to be more combat resolution. And I think that's like fantastic advice. I'm definitely, I have purchased his 3, like the sun gets in and or below or whatever it's called, so I can read up on those and use them as a bit of a framework. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, you finished your easy questions, so everybody clap off. Here's where we move on to our rapid fire questions. Here's where we dig into GM Sprinkle's soul. We pull out your essence. We stretch it on the table for the whole world to see. So, are you ready, GM Sprinkles?
Nervous but ready.
All right. So, player or GM?
GM. I do like to play, but I have noticed that when I do play, I want to GM, so GM.
Pull punches or TPK?
Depends. It's a really hard one. Depends. So if it's a people who I'm comfortable with and they are people that I know and they're okay with their characters dying, I will definitely go TPK. Otherwise, I tend to pull punches with new players.
Online or in-person gaming?
In person. I love in-person gaming, just seeing face-to-face. This is where I'm pretty lucky. We've actually had all the restrictions. Most of the restrictions been lifted off. So I can actually play with all my guys still here in Australia. So we're pretty good here.
I will say from America, we are quite jealous. But let's keep it moving. Announce a difficulty number or keep it a secret.
Depends. If it's a common guard or something common that they would probably know how tough it is, I would give it. Otherwise, I keep it hidden.
Salty or sweet snacks at the gaming table?
Sweet. I am a sweet tooth for sure.
You have you have a certain snack that you prefer? What's
chocolate.
Your
just anything with chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. Yeah.
That can't be easy being a diabetic.
No, it's not. It's awful. Oh gosh. Yeah, I just try not to keep it in the house if I can get away with it. Yeah.
RP or combat?
Oh, RP for sure. I've gone sessions after sessions without even rolling a die sometimes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
PDFs or physical books?
I usually get both, to be honest, but I'm a more of a physical book person, but it's also really good if you just need to look up that one quick rule, just be able to search through a PDF.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly hard copy. I'm definitely a hard copy person. Yeah.
Pen and paper, notes, or digital?
Digital for sure. I actually use Notion, the Notion app, for all my campaign notes.
Cool.
I use the napkin app.
He just writes everything on it. Just get a nice notebook. Come on.
Yeah, I've got a tablet. It's got like the write to text, so I can just literally write and talk to my players, and it just puts it all into Notion. It saves it. It's backed up to the cloud, and I can share that out with my players, and I can even share out like things of the world. So like, here's all the NPCs that you've met, and they can go through and what they know about them
That's
between
awesome.
sessions.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that app up.
Pre-written adventures or original content?
Both I get pre-written adventures so I can run my original content. But yeah, I just steal everything really, yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it.
That's what they're
This
meant
is
for.
mine now.
You're talking to three guys that do it all the time.
Isn't that the rule? You find something you like and it's like, this is mine now. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Have you ever played on the side? Have you ever played someone in a pre-written adventure and they'll turn around and say, "Hey, that's not how it went in the book. Why are you reading the book in the first place?"
Yeah, that's when I turn around. I'm like, I'm God now, so just sit down and let me do this. Yeah. No, yeah. I have had that before.
Hilarious.
Sick.
You survived rapid fire questions. Congratulations!
Hey.
So that brings us all, to the end of our adventure. Yes. It's great to be to have you on the show today, Ben. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to the world out there?
Look, not really. Just if you enjoy this interview and enjoy what I do, definitely come check me out and subscribe. I am trying to get some more subscribers, get more followers. I'm hoping to that way I can try and justify doing it as more of a full-time capacity would be good. At this point, there's not really enough audience to do that. So come and support me if you like it. If not, if you just want to watch casually, that's fine as well. Other thing is, in the future, if I was to have one of you guys on my show, would that be something that we could organize one day?
Most definitely.
Absolutely. You want us
1, 2, all of us.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come hang out with you.
We can record it right after this interview.
But really quick, I mean, we know what you go by on YouTube, but do you have the link youtube.com/GM Sprinkles
I have recently got 100 subscribers, so I have yes, YouTube/GM Sprinkles. So that was very exciting.
And then your Twitter handle is the same thing?
No, so my Twitter is SprinksDM because I couldn't get GM Sprinkles. I also have an Instagram, which is GM Sprinkles as well, but I'm more active on Twitter. I do also have a GM Sprinkles Facebook page as well, so you can come check out my stuff on YouTube, and they're all in the bio there and that. So
yeah, and we'll be sure.
We'll
put the link down below.
Yeah, we'll absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dean.
And Al, you have any final thoughts?
No, just that this was a fantastic talk. It's nice seeing an up and comer, and getting their face out there. Hopefully, helping you grow your channel and your content. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being on your show. Should I be the one, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm the one.
Maybe I just need to have all three. Oh, look, I don't want you to fight, so I'll just have all three of you on, all right? That's the only way it's going to be fair.
But thank you so much for coming on, and it's been a blast.
And so,
no problem. Thank you for having me.
And for me, my final thoughts before I throw it over here to Anthony to take us home. You know what, guys out there in the interwebs, thank you for joining us. GM Sprinkles, thank you for being here. Great talk, lots of fun, inspirational, bringing back the ideas all over again. And it's always a good time when we have people from our community on. So keep up the great work, and see you on the server.
Sounds good. And, awesome.
GM Sprinkles, I watched all your videos. You do great work, and if people like our videos, they should definitely enjoy your videos. Your passion for gaming and your passion for Cypher System absolutely shows. And trust me, your numbers are going to go up the more content you put out, because you put out great content. And we're going to put all the links down below. And any way we can help support you, we'll definitely do. Don't hesitate to ask. You ever want to come back on the show, you want us on your show, we'll do all that. With that said, if you like us and you like what we do, You know, please like, share, and subscribe our videos as well. Did I lose sound?
No, you're good.
No, we're good.
You're good.
I think I went blank. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
You're
we
good.
can
We
hear
hear
you.
you.
You're good.
Yeah.
You need me to finish the spiels, Ant? All right,
But
let me
come on.
finish it up. All right. So again, be sure to like, share, subscribe.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm finishing up the little spiel right now, though. But yeah, like, share, subscribe to the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like our stuff, again, you don't have to. There's no obligation to support us monetarily, but we also do have a coffee. Throw us a couple bucks. It'll help us pay for some of our expenses like Zoom and possibly upgrading our equipment. We do have a merch shop, which we'll have a link down below. You can get a nice shirt, maybe a hoodie, blanket, stuff like that. We have all that good stuff on there. And we can't continue to grow without that help from y'all, so it would be so much appreciated. And I guess from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.